share instruction.
So if you don't mind, I can start with the lunch minute situation.
30-minute duty-free lunch thing?
Yes, I went back and reviewed and discussed and got more information on every level, and still the most I can say, and it really comes down to the high school and the way the schedules are built at the high school, the most we can guarantee is 25 minutes currently. If I do anything other than that, I'm basically setting us up for an issue. And it is what it is with the current schedule. There it is.
That's old, that's the old stuff that I haven't deleted out yet.
Check to junk too. This is what I wrote down on the 13th.
Can I ask a clarifying point?
Yes.
Because maybe it's just because we've taken such a long gap in between our previous conversation. And I want to make sure that I'm understanding things correctly. So currently at the elementary schools, they're having 35 minutes because they walk their kids and then they stand with them while they're in line, is that right? Or you walk them and you drop them off, and then you get 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's the 6 hours.
Because they have their lunchtime and then they have recess, which is usually paraprofessionals who are building aides who are doing recess. So they're currently at 35 minutes, middle school at
But
least.
that's not completely duty-free. Because they walk kids around during that time, which is why
Right.
historically, what we were told is that's why that time was built in there like that.
And so at the middle school, it's 30 minutes, but again, we walk our kids there. And so by the time we're done, it's probably closer to that 25. And the high school is just the bell dismisses and they're done. So the intention is to keep it at 25 so that if elementary is walking kids down or middle school is walking kids down, our protected time is 25 minutes. And we're not necessarily looking to change what is currently happening at any levels.
And we actually
We're just
had that
making
conversation last time,
Yes.
is yes, we are
Right,
not
because it's
asking,
not changing.
you all were just wanting, like, this came from your side,
Right.
wanting a definite
just-
number of minutes. The most minutes from my perspective that we can say are justifiable in a number in the contract is 25.
Okay.
Not that we are gonna say, okay, now you only get 25.
And like I said, I was at a disadvantage because I missed those beginning sessions you guys had, and then I was here, and then it's been a
Yes.
while, so I'm just making sure I understand correctly.
It doesn't change the duty time, it just enforces the duty-free time.
Okay. All right, I think we're gonna
Move on,
accept that
yeah.
and move on.
Acceptable time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we were just wanting to check and make sure everything was good with that, so.
It was lunch.
Plan time and the leave bank.
And the mentor
Oh,
situation.
yeah, but I thought the mentor was just a matter of wording.
Well, that's what I wanted to make sure we were on the
Oh,
same page
no,
because
we're not. We were waiting on Springston. I have that noted too.
there was gonna be some information on the number,
Of people that it was
People.
impacting.
and then you all were going to potentially speak with some of the instructional coaches as consultants to get input. I actually discussed further with Kelly, who runs that educator support program out of Dr. Springston's office. She reemphasized the same things that we had stated many times. She sent me an email with information. So again, one of the main reasons why that situation even came up was the fact that the state changed the guidelines on what was going to have to occur for anybody who is listed as a mentor for licensure purposes. And this comes directly from those guidelines. It says if teacher mentors are used in the future, in order to meet the state guidelines, they would be required to receive ongoing training and provide support in practical application experiences, including coaching, observing, and giving constructive feedback, dealing with difficult or resistant people and conflict resolution, working with new teachers on strategies to meet their needs, guiding new teachers in using various types of formative assessments to focus on differentiated instruction, collecting and analyzing various types of student data to show evidence of learning, and using content standards when planning lessons and units. That comes straight from the state's guideline, which is why I said a year and a half ago when these guidelines came out, we started going, oh my, if anybody we label as a teacher for licensure purpose has to receive training in all of those areas ongoing, what does that even look like? Which is why we then said we have a group of people that already do that, and that is their primary function in our district. That's what they get paid for currently. What if we just utilized that group as those mentors? And again, the program has been, as you heard from Dr. Springston, the program has been redesigned because even KSDE is moving away from check the box type, can they log into this, can they get to that, even KSDE is moving away from check the box type things to how does it impact instruction and learning in the classroom for the overall mentor program. And so again, we want to make sure we're operating in good faith and in good standard with the negotiated agreement. But again, back to the fact that from the board's perspective, it would not make sense for us to have to pay stipends for work that we are already contracting people to do.
Like paying your English teacher a stipend to teach English.
Yes.
I understand the changes being made and the perspective of the board, but I think the only information we were kind of wanting from Mr. Springston was that how many mentees would the mentors be? Like,
How many mentees would each instructional coach be given?
right, because we had talked like, what if, I know Jewel had said Central is gonna have a large number of new teachers and she thought it was 5 or 6, and then we talked about DCMS where I'm at and we found out our instructional coaches had 22 last year. So 6 is a whole lot different than 22.
So, and I think the answer is there's no definite, so the number of mentees doesn't necessarily determine the workload, so to speak, I guess, is where the gray area comes into play. Because if that new teacher, so to speak, that needs a mentor is somebody that is just coming into the district new, but is going through a different process, where they're enrolled in that educator support system will be drastically different than somebody else. So just saying it's a new teacher is different than speaking in licensure purposes for KSTE requirements. What I can tell you from my perspective is at any given time, there are probably no more than 15-ish total across the district that are enrolled in Gold 1, which are the people who have to have it for licensure. And again, I can get exact numbers because I can ask Kelly just to pull up the numbers from last year, how many people were enrolled in the Gold 1 pathway. Because those are the only ones we're talking about. Like we have to enroll those people into a certified mentor program that is approved by the state, or they can't upgrade their license to a professional license at the end of 2 years. We have to meet those requirements that the state says for that program, or they can't upgrade their license after 2 years.
So the folks that
All
are
those,
new to the district or new or will
all
go
those other people are enrolled in the educator support system, but not at the same level and degree that those people that have to have a mentor for licensure are.
right.
So for example, and that's where a lot of the major changes in the system have come, because in the past, you might be a 20-year veteran teacher, and what did we do? We just made you complete the same thing that everybody else that had to have it for licensure was doing. That is where we become way more intentional to where you don't have to, like, there's not all of these little check the box things that you have to do constantly. And that's why I say it's hard to say that just the number of mentees or the number of people really attached to an instructional coach is the determining factor on the workload, because out of those 5 people that are attached to that instructional coach, one of them might truly be in a full mentor-mentee cycle that needs the full-blown system as it's prescribed. 4 of them might be veteran teachers that are coming in from other places that are only going to have touch points every so often along the way.
Okay, so I'm understanding this a little, that helps with the Gold 1. I've never heard it called that, but got it. Those are the new news.
Yes, those are the ones that you need it for licensure.
And that's really what we're talking about here, not all the other ones that we're getting in, but those Gold 1s.
Gold 1s and gold, so the Gold 1 has 1 and 2 because there's year 1 and there's year 2. But even the year 2 people don't have near as many things going on as the year 1 people, because they only need it for that second year, so there's not near as many things that have to occur.
Okay, well, that really helps. That is definitely helpful. Also, that led me to a second question. And we probably don't have this answer, but probably Kelly Clark is just running her brain right now trying to figure out how to make this work. So from the last state level meeting, they're now wanting all teachers to do letters.
We are in a good place. I have been following that. I have known about this from the State Department level for a little bit. We are in a very good place because of what we've done throughout our district, and it's not necessarily all teachers. It's elementary and there's administration, and so with what we've done in our district over the last
I know
3
we
years,
worked on it for the last, so I was hoping.
we are in a really, really, really good spot.
Because those people will have to go through coaching cycles, the way I understand it, which would be our instructional coaches,
Yes.
right?
But the coaching cycles, our letters training is one of the things that can be utilized for what the state is requiring. So as long as they've
But
been
to
through,
complete the letters training,
Yes.
they have to go through an instructional
yes,
coach cycle.
yes. And again, those things are, they will be built in. And again, that's why the adjustments to the other portions of the educator support system are being made, is to make sure that our coaches are doing what our coaches are intended to do, which is be out there doing what they're good at and not doing all these check the box type things that should not be in their realm. And again, I'm just being very candid. I mean, so, as I said last time, some of that is the coaches will have to sometimes say, you need to go see the building principal. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to be a coach and coach on the instructional side of things. And again, sometimes we create our own work. If we just want to try to answer everybody's question and be nice to everybody, I can't tell you that somebody's not going to have a problem with that, because that's just kind of the nature of people in a people business, is sometimes we just want to help that person regardless, but that shouldn't be why we make this decision here.
Because I don't have it up right in front of me, the proposal that is on the table for this item is like, what specifically? How are we wanting to change the wording?
So the change in the wording was to basically state that there would not be the payment of the stipend if the person was mentoring as part of their normal job functions and duties. However, again, as Dr. Springson stated, and as it's been done in the last 2 years already, if the coach and the mentee decided that there needed to be something happen outside of normal hours because there wasn't enough time, which doesn't happen very often, by the way, they would still get paid that other $18.75 rate that they're currently getting paid to do that.
So the mentor language that we have in the shared folder, if I copy that back into the minutes for today, there's nothing changed from that?
That's what I'm going to
Okay.
right now.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't have it pulled up.
That's okay, I didn't either. She will help me out there.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think I just said.
Yeah.
Out loud. Again, we're not trying, because there are gonna be situations where a teacher who teaches a normal workload in the classroom, we will come say, oh, would you please mentor this? You should get a stipend for that. That's the intention of that stipend, is outside of the scope of your normal duties and functions, and you are taking on that responsibility outside of that.
Were you looking at the language?
I saw the one you're in, not the DCNEA proposed, but it is official,
It's,
is in there too.
yeah, mentor stipends are reserved for situations where classroom teachers with a normal teaching load are requested to take on the extra responsibility of mentoring a colleague. mentor stipends will not be paid in situations where instructional coaches or other certified employees with mentor functions and/or duties as primary job functions are listed as mentors for a colleague. Then it goes into, in situations where instructional coaches or other certified employees with mentor functions and/or duties as a primary job functions are having to complete those duties outside of normal contracted time, they can request payment per letter E, level 3 of the supplemental schedule with the supervisor.
I think we're good with this. Can I turn it green?
Let's do it.
All right, got it.
Well, and if we do this year, and it becomes problematic, it's
Again,
conversation, we can visit it next year.
Okay.
New lead right here, the last two.
Want to discuss the lead bank deal?
Sure.
So from our perspective, without leave having been actually noticed, however, based on the conversation, like I said at the end of the last meeting and the things that we did throughout the year, if you all are open to it, what I would like to do is discuss the lead bank portion, but we would not like to discuss the overall, let's talk about PTO declassification, all of those aspects of leave, because to Andrea's point and to my points that I made with my team on this lead bank piece, I really believe it's in the best interest of the board to have this discussion, because we knew there was going to be some changes and adjustments and some growing pains, because we completely changed in 1 year how the lead bank was operating and how you became eligible and what those days, donated days look like, and all of those different aspects, which is completely different than we want to notice you on the declassification of leave, which we have been noticed on like every year except this year for many years. Are you all good with that, comfortable with that? What I would like to propose is a possible MOU in the negotiated agreement for 1 year for the board to put another donation back into that bank to help it continue to go for this next year as you all do your donation at the beginning of the year as well.
100 days.
Huh?
You mean 100 days?
100 days.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes, but no.
Go for it. Again,
I don't have the negotiated agreement pulled up, and I should have. Could, just looking at that section, we add just one line right there instead of putting another MOU in there? Because kind of at the end of the leave section, we already have in there that we will revisit. When you brought it up the last time, we said we would do this in 2 years, and I did go back and read that part when we were here 2 weeks ago, but I've slept since then. And it's summer, so I've slept
No, I
extra
get
since
it.
then.
I don't blame you.
But I just hate putting all of that stuff at the back, because then we get to the table here and it seems like there's 100 things we need to get through.
I understand, but at the same time, I'm not locking the board. I don't want to lock the board into this being a permanent thing that is now embedded into that article. It's, we are going to do this year again, and then if we need to revisit it again next year, it's in that MOU in the back, and we would have to notice each other in order to address it again next year. I'm trying to find a resolution to the fact that it really wasn't a mandatorily negotiable topic, but I understand the importance of it from both perspectives. So if you're willing to meet me in the middle and say, the board will put in another 100 days to get this next year going again to see how this thing progresses. But after this next year, if it's going to be addressed, it will have to be noticed by one side or the other.
Well, yeah, I guess we could also just put it in the article as in the 24, 25 school year.
I just think it's always cleaner when it's not stuck in an article if it's only gonna be for a 1-year period. And again, I can go,
Legally has the same effect, but if it's in the agreement, we've got to, clean it up later on.
Right now, it reads at the beginning of the 23-24 school year, the Board of Education will provide a total of 100 days to the bank.
and then again, what I'm proposing is we would extend that for 1 more year as of right now to make sure this thing is still viable and doing what it's intended to do. But after this year, then it would have to be renegotiated if it was gonna be something that occurs. I'm not locking the board in right now to, we'll put in 100 days at the beginning of every school year, is basically what I'm telling you. It doesn't, the MOU would expire at the end of this year,
It
and
keeps
then,
the dates out of it. As well. Have to clean it up then.
From your HR perspective, you and Tara, was there anything else within Leave Bank that we should be discussing besides just the 100 days?
Anything
Because
that
for
was
mine-
bad, good, anything.
it actually functioned, like, I was very pleased with how it went. And we did work through some communication pieces, and we had to make sure that we continued, the people who were on the committee, we had to address some things so everybody had enough information without disclosing personal information to make a decision. So Jenny, throughout the course of the year, we started putting a little bit of other things in there and how many times or if they had used the lead bank prior. Now, the one thing that did come up in a conversation around December, and this came more from your perspective than ours, but it is something that we could consider because it's really, like I've said, this is really the teacher's lead bank.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like the way it's operating. And I like the fact that there's a little bit of buy-in to be able to utilize it. I like the fact that it gives you access to a few more days because of that. And really, we're just trying to help manage that the best we can and make sure that you're getting what you need and it's operating in an efficient manner. But the other thing that came up is we had several situations where they weren't necessarily extended type leaves that involved some sort of FMLA situation or things like that, where teachers were turning in like doctor's notes for 2 days here or 3 days here. We actually met and discussed it as a committee, and the committee members were like, I'm not sure that was the intention of this. Like, I thought it was more about if you had a larger scale situation where you needed to have this leave where you could apply for it. But again, that's more from your perspective as teachers. How do you want your lead bank utilized? Do you want people to be able to take days out, 2 here, 3 there, just because they're turning in doctor's notes for random things? Maybe they do turn into a long-term thing at some point. Maybe they never do turn into a long-term thing. Or do you want language in there that states that it has to be some FMLA type related situation to be eligible to apply for the lead bank?
So
Because ultimately it's going to determine how many of those people have access to those days and when. And that's, again, it's your bank.
Yeah.
You're the ones that are going to have to do the call for days if that bank runs out.
They have to do too many calls for days.
Classified one at this time more mirrors, it has to be a significant event for them to be able to get days out of it. The way the classified one is structured, that's kind of understood.
And that's how the teacher one was until
Right.
this last year. And honestly, hearing the feedback I got from the committee, I think the intention was for it to be that way,
Right.
but it didn't get written in that way. And so therefore, when we
Right,
had the
that's what I was
conversation,
I thought there was some more stuff that we were wanting
I
to make
Yes.
sure that we were a little bit,
Yeah.
I
clear
think
on.
I need to put the language in for an FMLA event on that leave.
well, how about this? Why don't you all take that and figure out what you think or what you want that language to be? Because that part, I would have no problem with us making a direct adjustment in the article, because that should state permanently in there
Right.
if you want some different language.
So, the question that I've been asked 3 times already this summer is, and I've already, to all the people who've been asking, yes, we will have to do a call for days and we'll probably do it right off the bat at the get-go, at the beginning, so we get all of those new employees. But if I go out for an FMLA situation and I come back, say I go out in October and I take my 6 weeks recovery time or whatever the doctor has said, this is the time. And we help them, and they use their days and they can apply for a maximum of 20. If they only use 15 days out of the bank, and we've said we'll award up to 20. If they get sick in March, April, or their kid gets sick in March and April and they need a sick day, can they pull back on those other 5 days they didn't use before? And those are questions that I don't know the answer to.
Now,
Once
And
again,
I'm
though,
like-
but it's your bank.
However you.
And it's,
Fine.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, I need you all to, we wanna help you manage this and we want it to be efficient. But again, the reason I like this so much is because literally, you have to help make the rules and then I will help you understand who's eligible, who's not eligible and why, because of the rules that are there. But, and there's no easy yes or no to something like that.
so, but classified has. a
Right, I was gonna
reason.
say, if we can
Their wording.
get as close as possible, so it's kind of like,
Well, if we looked at the NA from 2 years ago, you would have a pretty good idea of what the wording is, because when it used to be just the board dumping 350 days in there every year, there was language in there as to what had to happen for you to be able to utilize that. So it's still there probably.
where would I find that?
I can get it, I can send you a copy.
Okay,
Yeah, I can send you a copy.
I just log on to the staff portal and that's just the noise.
That'd be from the 21, 22, or 22.
And what I would tell you from my perspective, just from the managing side of things, I would basically say every situation is its own situation. And just because you were approved for 20 for this doesn't mean you can go back and use 5 that you didn't for something else. Like that new situation needs to go through the approval process before anything.
So what happens to those 5 they didn't?
They go back in the bank.
Oh, they go back in the
Yes,
bank, okay.
so.
I was just wondering, where
Yes,
are they floating?
Jenny
So-
tracks everything on a
Right.
spreadsheet and then she
Okay.
inserts them back into the bank.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and honestly, it never happens that way.
Really? They use all 20?
Yes, almost every situation where 20 are granted, 20 are utilized. And again, most of the situations are true FML, like we had 29 FMLA situations that lasted majority of the 12 weeks people were available. Like I told you all last year when we were talking about this, there's way more of these than you realize. And so again, and they're valid, most of them are valid situations, but some of the things we were seeing were random usage or requests here or there for 2 days, 3 days, and they weren't like FMLA style long-term situations. And that's why this discussion came up, is should we continue to allow for that, or is that the purpose of the bank or not?
To
And
me, that's
so-
just people who run out of days and are trying to get more days, and I don't want that in there. I don't want that to be an opportunity for people to just do more days.
And again, I will support that, and I will help you draw up I can help find the NA from 2 years ago, and we can,
I think
Work on the
they're
language.
sharing it with me. I wasn't in the folder because
Okay.
I've only been here for 2 years.
okay.
Oh, it's in the shared drive.
Okay.
This year's
The new, for this year's?
Oh, no, we can do that too.
So we will,
No, it's
So
okay. I
this
can
year-
go back. I think they're,
This year's
Yeah.
draft.
Are we doing-
Old language in this year's draft.
okay.
Are we doing the?
I put it in the, I put it in the.
Yeah. Are you all wanting to do the 100 days on the MOU and then possibly make this other adjustment in the article?
You mean the language changes to tighten it up?
Yes.
In the article.
in the
I'm
article
going to you
itself.
with this. If you say yes, we accept what you said.
I would
I
like to do that.
The MOU is fine.
I think that's good.
The other thing we might consider though is that we put it in to try it for 2 years, and maybe just generally leave it alone,
Well,
Well,
see how it goes.
like I said, I'm not gonna lock the board into more than one more year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no,
the
no,
goal is to make this thing sustainable on its own.
Right.
I'm willing, or the board's willing to say, we'll put another 100 days in this year that, again, my ultimate goal is that you don't have to do a call for days during the school year ever. But it's gonna, to Andrea's point, like, it's gonna take a few years before there's enough participation to get it to that point, which is why the board is willing to look at it year by year and see where we're at. But again, we'll do an MOU this year for 100 days, but then it has to be noticed in the future for either side to continue to want to do that. Fair?
Could we also ask though that if you guys see some major things, that you would share them so that we know, oh, we need to go back in and tighten this up a little bit more?
We meet and we talk and
Okay.
we have conversation as a committee.
All the time.
Anytime those things come up, we try to,
Well, not
Make
all
sure
the
we're-
time,
But a
when
good
we
chunk.
need it, as needed.
Yeah.
and we send a lot of emails too. If we're seeing things or if we have questions or if we know something, like something just doesn't seem right here, we'll send a lot of emails back and forth because again, if we can share that information without having to get everybody on a Zoom call or in a room, it's a lot more efficient sometimes. So are we gonna keep the same people on the committee? I guess that's the next question, since we're here on this. So it would be the,
You're on it, I'm on it,
president.
Misty's on it.
but I think it's spelled out in the NA as to,
It won't be me, it'll be Angie.
yes, so it'd be the president, it'd be me, Jenny, and Tara from the district, which are spelled out pretty well. But I think on your side, it's the president and maybe 2 others that are chosen?
It'll be you and Misty.
Are you okay with still being on
Yeah,
Okay.
it? Or are we saying accept the MOU?
Yes.
Okay.
and we're still okay with doing the optional in December.
Yes, I don't think we, like, honestly, it really did
Oh, and it
go-
says we could also do the month of May, we didn't do that one.
Yeah.
If we would have done that one.
And, well, good luck now, because they can take them and get paid for them at retirement.
Right.
So you're probably not gonna have many donated in May. So,
But we actually kind of had more in December than I thought we would,
yes,
honestly. So it might surprise us if we put that out there.
and again, that's
The
why
first week of
from
May.
the board's perspective, I'm more willing to put those days back in there to start this thing again next year to see if we can get to that point where people just understand how it operates, because I still think there are a lot of people, even as much advertising and, I mean, everything we did, people still didn't quite grasp it, but now that it's a year in, there'll be a few more.
Yeah.
And then, again,
Give
it
a
might
couple
be a
years to get.
3 to 4
to
to
get
5
in
year process to get it functioning like we want it, but all in all, I think it's the best way I've seen one of these banks work in my tenure in education, where there's a little bit of investment to be a part of it.
Right. So is it okay if I turn the 100 days for the MOU green, and then we'll look at the language from 2022 and try and see how we can tighten up that
Absolutely.
language,
Sounds good.
everybody, so it's clear.
Works for us.
So our last topic, that was a leave over. One of those revisit topics is plan time. That one team time, this is specifically for middle school, one team time each week becomes a personal plan.
Yes, and after continued discussion, it's the position of the board that without having something, and again, I know we had a lot of conversation about the retention piece and about all of those other aspects, but at a certain point in time, as we continue to give up things, we've got to get something in return. And so right now, the board is not willing to give up that 42 or 45 minutes of plan time because you rejected our proposal and went back to your original proposal, which was just a straight across, give us 42 minutes of team time as plan time, and we are not willing to do that. And so from this perspective, that one is kind of dead.
Just a way to be able to try to get a little bit more even with the other things, not
No,
really
I
to
understand.
trade off. Was just kind of making a point there. Just trying to find the time to do that, to get that more equal to the other schools.
Again, I just look at it from from this perspective, and again, at this point in time, in this whole process, what has the board got?
What do you mean? What's the
Like,
word?
what, it's a negotiation, like, so again, going back to this time piece, like, we give up time, we're gonna pay more for duty, we're gonna do, but like, what, at some point, part of the board's process of negotiating is we have to get something for something and not just continue to give things, because otherwise we end up in a situation that's not sustainable. And we have more time, more things that need to be done in a 6-hour, 40-minute day than we can do already. And so again, from this perspective, one of the proposals we made from the board was, if we give this time up, can we get it in a little bit of a different fashion? And it wouldn't be equal, so to speak, but at least there would be something in
Well,
return.
to be fair though, the proposal had 2 poison pills in it.
But you rejected the whole thing.
Because it had 2 poison pills in it. Like, the first off, the additional plan time that you would have granted to middle school teachers was only guaranteed for 2 years. That's just as long as there was the collaboration time on Wednesdays. So that was already one poison pill. And then the second one was when we were like, well, we have identified this to you as a problem. Teachers don't have enough plan time as is. Your solution was to then take plan time away from the high school teachers. Like, so that was, which the high school teachers are I think the largest block of voters in the bargaining unit. And if you put a poison pill like that in there, then you run the risk of like the whole thing not ratified. Like, I mean, I think it's a little disingenuous to say, well, we didn't get anything in return. You didn't like ask for anything reasonable. So I don't think
that's your
that's
perspective.
it
Again,
is.
so that's why it's kind of dead right now.
And I say
But it should be
reasonable.
your perspective, because one of the things in the norms is it ratifiable?
Right. And if you poison pill it, then it's not ratifiable.
But I do recall the first day, though, that the subject of equity among the teacher groups was raised. And so,
Right, and
so
if
there
you-
was an attempt to sort of say, okay, if we're recognizing there's no equity, because high school teachers have such a long period, maybe we reutilize some of that for collaboration.
Well, okay, so there's a couple things happening there. First, the equity wasn't the only thing, it was a thing.
Right.
And that was pointing out that even the elementary teachers have more plan time than the middle school teachers. And the elementary teachers, we've been arguing for years and years about like giving them even 20 minutes every day. So somehow along the way, the middle school teachers end up with less plan time than even elementary teachers we fought tooth and nail over. So the equity piece was, there's a definite balance, all three have different levels. You can at least get the middle school in line with the elementary.
Just trying to find a time that you weren't taken away from kid time to be able to put that in there to get them a little bit more equal on their planned time.
Yeah, that's why we suggested the team time, because it would reduce contact time.
I completely understand the request. And that's why there was a counter proposal, because we're not willing to give up that team time as plan time without somehow ensuring that that time's still gonna exist somewhere. And that's what I was clear about the first
Time
day.
doesn't exist in the, I'm just with all respect, that time, that 30 minutes or 40 minutes isn't existing in the other buildings, because that's planned time. I just,
And again, then with all due respect, that's why if we're gonna look at equitable, then let's look at all factors that aren't equitable. And that's why our proposal came back the way it did.
I mean, the flip side to that equity piece, if you're going to like hammer that horse to death, let's talk about it. Why don't we give everybody 84 minutes of plan time a day?
Let's go, because let's have that discussion.
That's the thing, like, that's another way of making it equitable.
I agree
Rather than
100%.
taking away, I mean, it's the Thanos question, you snap your fingers, eliminate.
Let's
half
work for
the
8
time.
hours a day instead of 6 hours and 40 minutes, like almost every other negotiated agreement that I see.
We did that.
And then we can have these other conversations.
Well, again, I want to point out something, and then she wants to point out something for sure, because I think we're on the same page on this. But every time that additional minutes have been brought up, which is at least twice since I've been negotiating, it falls apart as soon as you say, okay, cool, you want us to work more, then you pay us more, and then it just doesn't happen. Like,
Because there's a poison pill, right?
it's pay, it's
But then-
it's the only reason I have
Because
a
it's-
job. It's
exactly,
like-
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
But
that's like the
but-
basic tenet of like being an employer. Your employee works, you pay them.
I guess then think about minutes as dollars from this perspective. And we're giving up 42 minutes and we need something for it.
Yeah, but this 42 minutes doesn't actually cost you anything.
Costs 42 minutes of team time, which is valuable from this perspective.
Right, but you're not, there's no like, it's not gonna be an extra $1 million or anything. It's the same amount of time we're working.
It's a cost.
It's a bargaining chip is what it is, because it currently doesn't exist and it is a bargaining chip. That's like everything we do. And again, my perspective on these things is it has a cost regardless of whether it's a dollars and cents thing or whether it is something that can be used as a bargaining chip for something else. Everything has a price.
Because you're either gonna have to make up that team time somewhere or just do without it.
Yes.
well, right, and I think that's what you would do without that 1 day a week, but you're also looking at the other schools are getting 240 plus. So we're not asking for anything above and beyond what, we're not asking for any favors, I guess is what we're saying.
And I get it, but everything that's given up without getting something is one more thing we're never gonna get back.
Okay, I brought this up last time, but then I didn't communicate it very well. So one of the things I asked for when we were talking about the lunchtime and making sure that 25 minutes was guaranteed, I said, well, at the middle school, we are already working above our 6 hours and 40-minute contracted day. So our bell rings at 7:55 and the last bell rings at 3:15. So we're bell to bell, 7 hours and 20 minutes. We currently get a 30-minute lunch break. So if you take that out, now we're at 6:50. So we're already working 10 minutes over our contracted workday every day for 5 days a week. So that's 50 extra minutes that you're getting from every middle school teacher currently. So by asking to have 42 minutes back as planned, we're just kind of getting back to our contracted time. So I really don't think we're asking for any.
That might have been the piece I missed.
That's why I said, I don't think I communicated it very well. And Jewel says that that's how they're getting their 35 minutes because they are also there longer than 6 hours and 40 minutes bell to bell. But because they have that 35-minute lunch, they get back to that 6:40. So when I said, could we please make sure that we are to our contracted time, that would be a way like to give the teachers back their time, honoring, we know you're working over your contracted minutes, but now you're getting some time back. It's still within the school day and not like they're leaving. I mean, I don't leave in that 42 minutes. I can't get anywhere back and get something accomplished in 42 minutes. Maybe in 84 you guys can, but it's not happening at my
Right.
level very often unless there's like an emergency. So
I
that
completely
is kind of,
misunderstood, and now I understand
that's
what you were bringing up last time. And I will need to go look at the schedules and take a deeper dive into exactly.
So I don't think it was ever a malicious point on any administration part or Board of Education part. I'm just saying this would be a way to give that time back and honor the teachers. We know you're working above, and that kind of puts us on the same level as elementary. And like I said, middle school, just kind of like our middle school kids, they're not really fit in elementary, they don't really fit in high school. Our teachers are that way too. We don't really.
From my
always go
perspective,
elementary.
just that last piece kind of changes the whole mindset in it. So I need, like, give me until the next meeting
That's why I
to
said I
do a
don't
deeper
think I
dive into it,
communicated well.
look at the minutes,
You're not
exactly
letting
what it
anything above
is,
and beyond.
what it isn't, and respond again accordingly.
And I am a team leader. So I do lead those meetings 4 days a week because we have PLC 1 day a week. And if you're organized and you have stuff done, I am confident I could get what I need accomplished in 3 days. And there are days where we finish 10 or 15 minutes early. Okay, go do what you need to. It's not a lot, but 10 or 15 minutes might be enough time to run down and make your copies for the next day. So
No, I get you.
just trying to honor people's
I
time.
will do a deeper dive into the scheduling and see that, like, the whole contracted piece and how that is, why that is that way, I guess.
Well, so it didn't used to be. The bell used to, my first year here, it was first bell was 8, second bell was 8:05. And then COVID happened, and so we moved it back to 7:55 instead of 8. Does that make sense?
I'm grasping it, but I'm wondering how in the world it ever was allowed to happen. So, yeah, I will, like, literally, I will have to do some investigation and I will be back in touch.
The year that happened is we were told that Comanche has already been this way, and so we needed to adapt to what they were doing so we could be the same, middle school to middle school. So we all just kind of accepted it.
Yeah,
I think right now the elementary hits right on the nail head with minutes.
We're
like they're where they're
exactly
supposed to be.
6:40.
The high school's over by like 6 minutes or
I'm
so.
gonna look at all of them because I've
Yeah,
never seen it from that perspective, so I will
We've
try
been
to.
giving. Don't ever say we haven't. We've been giving.
Come on.
Okay.
Okay,
Turnabout's fair play.
it's not personal, I can guarantee you, like, I get it. I mean, because if I was on the other side of this table, I would be doing it the same way you're doing it. Like, I understand. So again, that is a very valid point and something that I will take into account and go do some math on the schedule. And if it is in fact the case, then we will have a different conversation. That makes sense?
We're tabling this right now,
Yes.
so you can check out minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that makes sense. Is that the last one for now?
I think it
Yes.
is.
Oh,
Moves.
No.
Oh, Ren, come on.
no. It's an easy one though. I think it's an easy one. It's the evaluation. right?
I thought we had
We've already
already,
done that.
Well, I mean,
No,
I thought we already.
something
We're
Angie
going-
said. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was something Angie said, and then I went back and I'm like, okay, I do see where we said something about we need wording, but
we haven't worked out the wording
we
yet.
haven't
It's
worked
not
out
the word, yeah, it's just the wording for the pilot year.
Oh.
because it's only gonna be an
Oh,
MOU pilot.
It's gonna be an MOU for a pilot year on those things that have, but we did work on, we had some wording the last time.
I think it was
That,
preliminary, I can't quite remember. Did we?
Right, so hang on just a minute.
It was, in our discussions, it was brought up,
Oh,
we were unsure of the benefit for putting all of the new teachers on keep, just because they don't have a frame of reference if they're new. And it may be like new to the district, but like new teachers, maybe not, because they don't have, they won't have a frame of reference to compare anything. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think some of it was simply trying to keep it consistent for administrate, because again, the people this is gonna affect the most are administrators who are now gonna operate in two different platforms.
Right.
And I think the thing with the new teachers was just trying to keep it consistent so they knew where those folks were all going to be and not some of them here and some of them here. And again, we won't have a plethora of those individuals that are new as far as the gold one.
Yeah.
On an evaluation cycle for the very first time ever. But if that's something that you want to further discuss, I mean, we sure can.
Yeah, we were just kicking around like, well, how useful is it for them to be on keep, because it'll just be.
From our
whatever they're
standpoint, it's
told,
very
you
useful
know.
because we would like to see us all go that way, and it just makes more sense to have them there already. I mean, the ultimate goal for the proposal was that we hope that you see the same value in it that we do and realize that it's not gonna be so much more time consuming, which is the concern up front. And so therefore, we felt like if we have new people coming in and this is the ultimate goal, it would be a lot easier shift to move them back to E480 than to move them into KEEP in the future if they're already here.
so some of the things that I finally found it was June 12th. Pilot the evaluation using new teachers and select teachers, volunteers. Increase transparency on the evaluation cycle. And then I put down memorandum of understanding using board's language, and then in capital letters after the NEA lawyers look it over.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know whether we've had,
They're still
They
waiting,
haven't
looked it
we're
over.
still waiting,
Okay.
we're still waiting on mine. I saw that in the text.
And I think you're still waiting on the progressive discipline.
yeah,
thing
that's
to
the
come
other
back
one,
from
so we
them
haven't heard
as
from
well.
legal yet on that one either.
Do we need to remind Mike?
The texts were in there, he should have seen them, because I just saw them yesterday.
And hopefully maybe by the
It was in the
11th,
text.
you have some responses back on those things as well.
Very
So
good.
it was easy.
Sorry, I just,
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
now that you know.
All right,
My mouth shut.
well, good work.
Okay, so we need responses on
I will get your response
King,
on, well,
the progressive discipline.
that's what I
That we
need from you all,
yeah.
yes.
I'm just putting it down.
You
in
need a
writing.
response
We need
from me
responses
on
from
the
progressive
plan
discipline
and
and
the school piece.
the lead, no, wait, not the lead.
It was the middle school plan piece and the minutes thing,
You're doing that.
yes.
We need the progressive discipline, what was the other one we were waiting for?
The keep,
The key, okay.
Piece. Because
evaluation piece.
there was language that we
And then
drew up in the last
hammer.
meeting.
Yeah,
We need tomorrow.
We can meet tomorrow, we can meet next week, we can do both. I mean, I'm sure I'll do next week. Oh, you're next. So I do not care. I will work around your schedule.
Tomorrow,
Okay, that's fine.
tomorrow at 9.
That works. Alright. You wanna just meet
I mean,
up
I got
tomorrow?
stuff to do. It's a Friday afternoon. I need to be done by 2.
I'll just
She's
be
got
there,
plans
so-
at 2.
Yeah.
Love it.
Is that all then? That's
I'm sure
all?
that hurts Hammer's feelings. Yeah. Gotta be done by 2 on Friday.
Gonna just meet Dr. Bruce at conference room. Sure. Got a big screen. You said 9, right?
Yeah.
You obviously need to get mine. Get mine.
I
What's that
know.
little text message? Do I not have the right number after all?
I just,
I tried to get on the parking lot, and so I do it like this. Hang around. So I literally.
I can share it.
Yes.
And then you can just, if it looks right,
I go
Several times as I was leaving, because the first time it
oh my God, that's what you were going to.
Yeah, then I was like-
About 10 o'clock tonight, you're gonna get a voicemail from me.
Was it, oh, that,
That's me.
okay, yeah, I was actually on another call.
I was trying to.
I was on another call when you did it, I didn't know.
Yep.
They only want to do it
All right.
while Wednesday was outside.